Shalom, guys. Welcome back to another episode here at YASHAV Ministries with Kasada Israel Yarad. Thank you again for being there. Like I always tell you, if you like the content that we have on our channel, like and subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, put them in the comment section down below. Let's keep going with this week's Torah portion, Tetzaveh. But before we get started, let's do the Torah blessing. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה. Bless Adonai who is blessed, bless Adonai who is blessed now and forever. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who has chosen us from among the peoples and has given us a Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, who gives the Torah. Amen. So, like I said, this week's Torah portion, Tetzaveh, it opens up with the bringing of the olive oil for the menorah, which is supposed to be turned on and burnt continually. Before we get into the reading, we have to understand that after this, we're going to speak about the priestly garments. Now, today we're not going to go in depth into the priestly garments and each representation. We're going to speak a little bit of the priestly function, right? What is the purpose of the priestly court, the priestly family, which is the Levitical priesthood, and then the high priesthood, which comes from the sons of Aaron. And so their ministry and why it was implemented, they are meant to be the ones that draws near to Adonai, at least in the sense of the context right now, and then in the function of the tabernacle and in the big Hamikdash when it comes to the temple later on. Now, let's get to a Torah reading, and then we'll speak a little bit on it, okay? This week's Torah portion begins the following way. Wa'ata tetzaveh et bnei Yisrael wa'yichu elecha shemen zayit sach chatit lemaor lecha'alot ner tamid. And in English, it says the following. You shall charge the sons of Israel that they may bring you clear oil beaten olives for light, to make a lamp burn continually in the tent of meeting outside the veil which is before the testimony. Aaron and his sons shall keep it in order from evening till morning before the Lord, and it shall be a perpetual statute throughout their generations. Then bring near to yourself Aaron your brother and his sons with him, from among the sons of Israel, to minister as priests to me. Aaron, Nadab, and Abiahu, Eleazar, Itamar, Aaron's sons, shall make a holy garment for Aaron's your brother, for the glory and for beauty. You shall speak to all the skillful persons whom I have endowed with the spirit of wisdom, that they make Aaron's garments to consecrate him, that he may minister as priest to me. These garments which they shall make, a breastpiece, an ephod, a robe, a tunic of checkered work, turban, and sash. They shall make holy garments for Aaron, your brother, and his sons, that he may minister as priest to me. These garments are an identification, right? They are an identification that is given to them in their service, right? In their function as priests and high priests of the people of Israel. Okay, now it's very important to understand, especially in the context of the times that we're speaking of, biblical times, when the people of Israel have exited Egypt. Now, understanding that culturally, Israel has been influenced by Egypt, and they understand that they're about to enter Canaan, and they have their own ways of worshiping their gods and have their rituals and how they maintain order, right, and chaos, and how they tame these perspectives. And so, understanding that in Egypt they had the concept of Ma'at, which we spoke about, right? The goddess of harmony, balance, order. And they also had the concept of Cheka, which is magic, right? And it's personified. It presents itself in the beginning of creation, and it is used before the pre-existing gods. And so they had the concept of cheka, which was a special responsibility to maintain this magic. And the ones that came into place in Egypt were the priest to an extent, and they were responsible for using this magic and using these powers to communicate. And also, they were responsible for maintaining the temple and maintaining the god and feeding the god and nurturing the god. And so, remember, there's a concept that is going to be repeated because Adonai is trying to make the distinction, the separation from the other nations. Okay, now there is a point that I've always made lately, and is the concept of how powerful the human and the human action and the cause and effect of our behavior in the biblical narrative, and how Adonai is revealing, God is revealing to the people that the actions, even though you might understand step by step what you're supposed to do when it comes to the commandments, when it comes to the function of the tabernacle, the temple, the sacred spaces, it doesn't matter how much you understand each detail and memorize it and know it, if morally you cannot have a relationship with your neighbor, all of that is out the window, right? Morally, we have to be able to, yes, have the knowledge and understanding, but be able to do justice, righteousness, mercy, and have a relationship with our brothers, because the purpose of the priesthood is to draw the people near to Adonai. Okay, so we're gonna go and read from Jacob Milgram, Leviticus. Now, we're not in Leviticus yet, but this book is going to explain to us the holiness code and what the priestly code is. And so it is going to go in depth in the Levitical book of the Torah. But I want to read this because it's very important, and I emphasize it a lot lately when it comes to our actions and how we represent God, and how we carry ourselves and where we put ourselves publicly, to an extent represent or can represent positively or misrepresent Adonai negatively. Okay, the priestly theology of chapters 1 through 16, which is from Leviticus. Jacob Milgram is explaining this, right? The concept and the theology of the priesthood. Okay, and it says the basic premise of pagan religions are the following: that its deities are themselves dependent on and influenced by a meta-divine realm, that this realm spawns a multitude of malevolent and benevolent entities, and that if humans can tap into this realm, they can acquire magical power to coerce the gods to do their will. The eminent astrologist W.G. Lambert has stated the following: the impression is gained that everyday religion in Mesopotamia was dominated by fear of evil powers and black magic rather than positive worship of the gods. The world was conceived to be full of evil demons who might cause trouble in any case, in any sphere of life, if they had attacked the right ritual. Should affect the cure. Humans as well as devils might work evil against a person by black arts, and here too the appropriate rituals was required. The priestly theology negates the premises, its existence of one supreme God who contends neither with higher realms nor with competing peers. The world of demons is abolished. There is no struggle with autonomous foes because there is none. With the demise of the demons, only one creature remains with demonic power, the human being. And though with free will, human power is greater than any attribute to humans by pagan societies. Not only can one defy God, but in the priestly imagery, one can drive God out of the sanctuary. In this respect, humans have replaced demons. The pagans secure the perpetual aid of benevolent deity by building him or her temple residence in which the deity was housed, fed, worshipped in exchange for protective care above all. The temple had to be inoculated by apotropaic rites, utilizing magic drawn from meta-divine realms against incursions by benevolent forces from the supernal and infernal worlds. Now, apotropaic definition says the following: is an adjective supposedly having the power of advert evil or influences or bad luck, right? So they had to be able to prepare these temples to ward out evil. The priestly theologians make use of the same imagery, except that demons are replaced by humans, and humans can drive God out of the sanctuary by polluting it with their moral and ritual sins. All that the priest can do is periodically purge the sanctuary of its impurities and influence the people to atone for their sins. So understanding the concept of the function of the priest and how they had that power, right? The human responsibility was key. Now, two elements that the priestly code in Leviticus and to an extent what Adonai is building with the people of the Levitical priesthood and Aaron is that he's trying to make obviously the distinction of their service. So we understood now that the priests had the access to magic in Egypt and were the ones that maintained the temples and took care of the gods the same way in Mesopotamia. But something that was also common was the way that the people were able to connect with the gods was through the priests, and the only vehicle was them. And they morally usually oppressed the people, and they became more powerful than the people because they had more access to the God, right? So that privilege that they had was to an extent overused in other cultures and in other societies. Aaron and his sons and the Levitical priesthood were the connection, right? Their function was very important. They were to draw the people near. They were the vehicle, right? They were the door to Adonai. And to an extent, they also represented Adonai, and they were the image of God to the people. And they were supposed to represent that service that they performed, represented Adonai's order, Adonai's splendor. That's why they had splendorous garments, and they looked radiant to represent Adonai's honor, right? It says consecrated for Yod He Vav He in their plates that they were on their turban. And so Adonai is trying to dress us up with honor. That's what he did with Israel, and that's what he did with the Levitical priesthood. And we understand that the narrative was supposed to be that all of Israel was supposed to have a functioning priest, but they did the sin of the golden calf, as we will see eventually. And so the only ones that repented and stood for the honor of Adonai was the Levitical priesthood, etc., etc. Now, I want to read something that is very important, and as we're going to keep it simple. I always say that, but today we're going to keep it simple. But I want to read this because it's something that we need to remember, and I think that we need to review every single cycle, every single year, okay? So let's go to the Torah portion and let's read. Now, after he explains the procedure, after he describes every element of the priestly garment and the sacrificial ritual for 7 days that they will go through to institute them, Adonai says the following in Exodus chapter 29, verses 44 through 46. And it says, I will consecrate the tent of meeting and the altar, and I will also consecrate Aaron and his sons to minister as priests to me. I will dwell among the sons of Israel, and I will be their God. And they shall know that I am the Lord their God, who brought them out of the land of Egypt, that I might dwell among them. I am their God. Now, Adonai says the following: They shall be on Aaron and his sons when they enter the tent of meeting, or when they approach the altar to minister in the holy place, so that they do not incur guilt and die. It shall be a statute forever to him and to his descendancy after him. So, in these Torah portion of the priestly code or the priestly garments, Adonai makes a clear, precise command that the priestly and the high priestly office is forever, perpetually consecrated for Aaron and his sons on earth. And anybody that usurps that is usurping the authority of Adonai on earth. And so I want you guys to understand that the function is very important, because as you can see in Mesopotamia, they used demons, they used magic in Egypt to manipulate the people, to control the community. And that is not the role of a priest or a leader. The role of a leader and a priest was supposed to minister, connect the people to Adonai, and to make sure that they exalted Adonai, God's order and structure, and they represented it completely. Not just the practice, also the justice, the mercy. Not only righteousness, it had to be followed with good acts, desires to serve, because they were there to serve the people. And so, for this week's Torah portion, I want you to understand that the garments, robe, or wrapped the priesthood with honor, because their inheritance was on the night, but they wrapped them with responsibility and the ability to get close to Adonai, so that they can get us and open that door, so that we can have a relationship. And so, humbly, I say that I thank you again for my service and for giving me the opportunity to do it. I hope you guys have a great week. Shavua Tov and Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. Shavua Tov. Bye-bye.